Lisa will start us out. Thank you.
God, thank you for this morning. Thank you for this beautiful location that we have the blessing to meet. Thank you for each and every person here for good health, for this beautiful day and this beautiful season. We pray for your guidance, leadership, and blessing over this group. Help us to serve well, to love well, to include well. We honor you in all of it. Amen.
Amen.
Calvin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you guys for coming out this morning. It's a beautiful morning. And thank you to our Zoomers. We appreciate you joining us as well. Sorry for the delay there, but we're going to get this down for sure. This might be the hardest part of being president, I think, is the whole technology thing, but we're going to get there. All right, so let's see. First and foremost, I would like to introduce our district governor, Price Finley. Thank you so much for joining us today. So Price is just visiting. He actually will run the show. We're going to do a joint meeting here with a few other clubs on October 7th. So he's going to have a big show, but for today, he's visiting, and I told him he didn't have to speak, but would you like to say a few words?
I'm a lawyer, so if you give a lawyer a microphone, it's kind of like a mouse a cookie, but it is great to be with you. I wanted to get here as quickly as I could this Rotary year to celebrate Susan and her leadership this year. I wasn't able to be here physically for her installation, but I heard it was great. And so I'm just excited to be able to visit great clubs like Dublin AM and to celebrate all the great things that we do together in Rotary. I see that on Zoom. I think Wolf is still there. Hi, Wolf. I wanted to acknowledge the great work that Wolf Lant has done as an assistant governor for several years now, working with several of the clubs in our area here. And he's just a great Rotarian, and he's going to be leading our district service committee that we've newly created, designed to support clubs in any of the things that you want to explore as new or retooled service project ideas, and then also to coordinate maybe a few of the district-wide service projects that we might do during the year. So what you know, as we do in Rotary, when you are able to latch on to a good person like Wolf, you keep them plugged in. So we're glad to have him doing that, and it's just great to be with you all. So thank you for having me.
Would it be great if we induct a new member and have Price be a part of it? So let's just jump right into the inducting of our newest member. So Lori, if you'd like to come on down. And do you want to make an introduction?
Sure, we're excited to have Erin join us. She comes from the Newark Club. She was there for 10 years. Very excited. She lives here in Dublin, works in Dublin, has her 2-year-old son, her family here in Dublin. So we're very excited. And Erin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. Again, Erin Prescott, and very, very happy to continue my time in Rotary, which has been 10 years to date, and served on quite a few different committees out in Newark. So hoping to do the same here to meet folks. Paul Harris Fellow, and really appreciate being part of the club. I was in the Rotarians on the Rise program for District 6690. So hoping to contribute to your club as I did out in Newark. So thanks for having me.
Thank you.
She said she gets involved, but I'll be the first to tell you, new membership is the best part, one to be a part of. So I welcome you to my committee, so.
And then lastly, wait. Gotta get a photo. Let's get all four of them real quick. Yeah, please. Thank you. Quick. 1, 2, 3.
Thanks so much.
But you guys, I do think, thank you, Price, for inducting our new member. I think it's important for us to remember the things that we think and we say and we do. And what Rotary is all about is the 4-way test, right? So since you're a 10-year veteran, which I didn't realize, that's fantastic. But let's all remind all of us what Rotary is all about with the 4-way test. So who wants to say the first one?
Truth.
Okay, repeat after me. Is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? And lastly, will it be beneficial to all concerned? That, I think, those are fantastic words to continue to stay focused on and keep us on the straight and narrow. So fantastic. Welcome, welcome. Next up, we have some announcements. Let's see, Ingrid, do you want to get us started?
Sure, thank you. Thank you. The folks on Zoom reminded me that it's a lot easier for them if we all use the microphone. So let me just let you know what we're passing around here. And I would appreciate it if you can sign up for this ahead of time. Lou Troby was able to get for us a special field trip for our August 5th meeting. So Friday, August 5th, instead of meeting here, we're all going to assemble out at the TRC, which is the testing center. Luke, can you say just a word? It's a very special facility here in Ohio. Can you say just a word about the testing center? And again, I'm going to send it. We have to, because we're using buses while we're on the track there, we need an exact count of people and we need to have your name so we can get through a security clearance. All we need is the name, not your social security number, as far as I know. So again, August 5th, if you can make that meeting, Andy, Sanan, others are going to make sure we still get our Irish festival training and everything else another day so that we can make this special event happen out August 5th. Luke, can you tell everybody what the TRC is?
Sure. TRC, Transportation Research Center, is located north of St. Mary's. Oh,
Marysville.
well, you heard that, you know. All right, Transportation Research Center. It's part of this 33 smart mobility corridor. And I've been doing some car testing there. And I approached the CEO and encouraged by Susan, our leader here, after she did our meeting at Don Scott Airport. And she said, why don't we do something like that somewhere? And so I approached the CEO there at TRC, and he said, Lou, you know we don't give private tours of this place. It's a secret place. And I said, okay, fine. Well, here 2 months later, I get this notice that our club is invited to have our Friday meeting there at 7:30 on August 5th. And they're going to give a presentation and give us a tour of the facility. Now, you have to register. They want your names. So that's why Ingrid has the sign-up sheet there. So those that want to attend, please sign up. They have 2 buses set up for us, which will hold 25 people each. So we got a limit of 50. So please sign up as soon as possible. And I know there's some of you like to travel first class and all that. And so if you want to sit in the front of the bus or something, write your name down on the back of a $100 bill and give it to me.
Hey, that's not part of the script.
You wrote it, so I added a few things. So there we are. If you have any further questions,
Can we take our own car around the track if we bring a helmet?
no. You can drive up 33 as fast as you want. There's a police station there, but go ahead, have fun.
Okay, thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
All right. Guys, this was no easy task, so let's make sure that we do get plenty of people signed up because it will be an amazing tour for sure. Okay, other announcements. Dublin Irish Festival.
Hello,
Hey.
once again, good morning, Rotary.
Good morning.
I want to let you know, August 4th, damn, ooh, you are tough.
It's the
August 5th, 6th, and 7th this year, the club is participating in the Irish festivals by distributing and monitoring the liquor supply that goes throughout the complex during the course of the event. We have August 5th from about 4 to midnight, August 6th from 10 in the morning to midnight, and August 7th will be from about 11 to, I think it's about 9:30. So when they close everything down, but we need 54 volunteers throughout the sign-up sheet, which I unfortunately forgot at home. So Sergeant at Arms, I'll take that one as a hit. But let you know that it's online also. So Claudia has a sign-up sheet. If you will, please, if you haven't already, sign up for one of the shifts. We need to fill at least 90% of the allotted shifts that we're responsible for in order to receive payment from the city. So I like to encourage as many people as possible. We're about 3/4 the way there, but we still have a lot of holes to fill on the sign-up sheet, so we appreciate it. What it's going to involve for most of the people is we have they have a north, a central, and a south area. We'll have a 2-person team in each area that will visit each of the liquor distribute sales points, and they will simply look at the inventory that's there and determine if the sales needed restocking. And then there will be pods that are located throughout the complex, rather than having to go all the way back to the barn like we've done in the past and pick it up. There'll be pods out in the field where the team would go and retrieve the replacement materials to take it back to the sales points. So it's going to be a lot easier. You'll have your own golf cart. We'll have the radios. We'll sign in at the barn like we have in the past, and we'll sign out at the barn. So shift starts at the barn, ends at the barn, parking's at the barn. So to get there, you have to come in off Post Road, go into the access road to the rec center, and then down the little across the creek, and you're there. So if you haven't done that, that's a sporty little opportunity. Need volunteers.
All right, thank you. Thank you. And for those of you on Zoom, hey guys, Claudia sent an email out to everyone requesting you to volunteer. And this is one where we really do need all hands on deck. So I'm going to call you guys out. Tricia, Amber, Craig, Steph, Mike, who else? Kurt. Guys, we need your help. So please take a look at your calendars. And if you're in town for that weekend, we need everybody. All right, next up quickly, let's see. Oh, on your tables, there is a copy of the bylaws. Need y'all to review the bylaws because we do need to take a vote and approve keeping them, or I'm sorry, approving them. We did remove, there used to be in the bylaws something about required attendance, and that no longer is a part of Rotary's initiative anymore. So yes, we do want you to attend, but no, we're not going to ding you for not attending and all that kind of good stuff. So if you would take a look at that. Can't remember if I'm supposed to take a vote.
So moved. Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that we had a board meeting last Wednesday, and we have an amazing board. We have 21 people who are just outstanding, work hard to keep us all organized, doing all the great things that we went over at last week's meeting. I would have welcomed those of you who are not on the board. You can attend the board meeting at any time. Our next board meeting is August 3rd. They're all at the chamber offices, and a lot of great stuff goes on there. You can be a fly on the wall and just listen, or you can come with ideas. And we're looking always for great communication. So please join us at the next board meeting.
Can I have a postscript?
Yes.
For those of you that are volunteers, the uniform of the day will be the Rotary t-shirt, white or gray, either one. If you don't have one, I've got some out in front, and I'll be bringing them to each of the meetings leading up to the Irish Festival. So if you need a t-shirt, they're out there. And there's plenty of fat stuff. Yeah.
Okay, and today we have Sergeant at Arms. It's supposed to be Susan. Ah, all right, Calvin, let's hear it for Sergeant at Arms.
I never thought I was gonna make it up. So, anyhow, good morning. We have two guests, Rick Sweeterman, world famous from Arizona. Rick bought a ticket, so he's trying to get airfare to go back home. So we hope he wins. And then, of course, we have our district governor, Price Finley. And also part of my duties is fine. So on behalf of the speaker, just for time's sake, everybody's fined $1 today. Thank you. You're supposed to smile when I say that. All right, the small pot is $15 and the large pot is $2.45. So, Susan? The first number is 9304. Everybody jump at once. I got one ticket in my pocket. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
All
right.
You going small or big?
I'll do.
All right.
Oh, big money,
Okay.
big money.
All right, we're going again for the small.
Small pot,
Yeah.
yeah.
Rick Sweeterman, I'm sorry about your luck. You don't get airfare home today. So. The small pot is 294.
294.
I think that might. Okay,
Ah,
Gene.
Gene.
All righty.
All right.
Kidoki.
Everybody put $1 in, right? Dollar fine. There we go.
Yep, well, let me get Gene his money first.
Okay, and we have one more announcement actually too. Cindy?
Yes, as some of you might know, Mike Coates is in the hospital, hoping to come home today, and he has pneumonia. He's at the James only because all of his physicians that have been taking care of him all these years are at Ohio State. So visited him for a few minutes yesterday. He gets very tired, but his sense of humor was the same old Mike. It was very relieving to walk in and hear him joking around. So, but I'm passing a card down to everybody.
All right, thank you,
Hey,
thank you.
Susan,
Gene, yeah.
I apologize.
No,
Real
Peter.
quick. Tuesday, July 19th, 5:30 to 7 o'clock, our former Rotary Youth Exchange member, Lara Cranky, is coming to visit us from Germany, and she's bringing her parents. So her time here obviously had such an impact on everybody that she wants to come back and see us. So let's have a great turnout. Getaway Brewery here in Dublin, 5:30 to 7 o'clock, July 19th.
All right, sounds good. And I think we might have a Clippers game in the future too, right?
That's correct.
All right, we'll get to that later, and we're running short on time. So let's jump into our speaker program. Ingrid?
Bob, if you'll join me, I'll keep the introduction relatively brief here.
Okay.
Wolf, I have Wolf Lang to thank for having recommended Bob as one of the guest speakers that we should listen to. And I really am pleased that you're here. Bob was a school superintendent, Bob, for 20-some years. Bob has his master's and undergraduate from the Ohio State University, attained his PhD at Penn State, and we have many, many good things we're looking forward to hearing about. Bob specializes in research and leadership, and specifically he'll be talking about the Doolittle Raiders and how that played out during World War II. Thanks again for being here, Bob.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's nice to see some ladies here. Now, I'm going to tell a little story. The guys might catch on. But anyway, a couple of weeks ago, my class reunion got together, and I was to say a few words for the class. And so I was standing in the hallway, and all of a sudden I heard a lady say, "Louise." And the other said, "Sharon." And I turned and I looked, and there was two ladies
that never got along in high school. And I thought, this is going to be interesting. So Louise said, Sharon, I didn't hardly recognize you. You're so old and you're wrinkled. And she said, Sharon, I know how you feel. She said, I wouldn't have known you either if it hadn't been for the dress you were wearing. So that's the best I could do. Todd Hoagley, it's kind of interesting because he and I, at different times, were employed with the same school district, weren't we, up in Northwest Ohio. And, but anyway, how did I get interested in Jimmy Doolittle? I've always been interested in people that really stand out. And what got me started on this was Right to Read Week. And my teachers knew that I loved to do research, and there were certain eras and certain people that I was really interested in. And so they would invite me to come and speak to their class. And for the high school, I got into Jimmy Doolittle. Now, I'm going to show my age here, but that's okay, because I noticed a couple other guys are probably with me. I was 5 years old when World War II ended. I wasn't quite sure what it was all about, but I remember the excitement. And when I was 4 years old, a train came through my little village, and it stopped, and it was full of soldiers. And my mother picked me up, and I had 2 apples in my hands. And the soldier brought me on up, and I gave the apples to the soldiers. So just remembering that, my uncle came back. So I've always had this interest in World War II. But let's talk about Jimmy Doolittle. What an interesting character he was. He was born in 1896, and 2 years later, his father got into that Klondike gold rush up in Alaska. And so about 3 years later, Jimmy's mother followed him with Jimmy. Now, if you could see in Jimmy's picture of him when he was a young kid, he had long hair. So here's this little kid. He's 8 years old, and he goes up to Alaska, and all the native boys begin to tease him about his hair and so forth and whatnot. Not knowing that this kid really had a lot of energy. So he was fighting, getting in all kinds of trouble and so forth. So after 8 years, his mother decided, we're going to leave Alaska, and I'm going to take him back to California where, you know, he'll settle down. Well, he didn't settle down. So the mother wanted to get him involved in things. So one of the things that caught his attention was boxing. And when he was 15 years old, he was the welterweight champion of California. So he was a longtime boxer as a kid, but he also got interested in airplanes. And so his mother let him start taking lessons and so forth. And when he was in high school, he was 5'4" and weighed about 115 pounds. He never was taller than 5'4". So I don't know if he had a Napoleonic complex or what, but he was ready to take anyone on that wanted to challenge him. But anyway, he got interested in flying, and he also, his mother wanted him to go to school. So he's flying all the time. He gets a master, he gets a degree out of one of the schools in California. And in 1917, when he's 21 years old, he meets Josephine. And she has a tremendous impact on his life, especially supporting him and so forth. And I can relate to that because my wife gave up a lot for me to keep going to school, going to school, going to school. And so she had a tremendous impact on him. He joins the Army Air Corps so he can continue flying. And he eventually becomes a test pilot, but it's really interesting. He set the record
from flying from coast to coast, the time. And then, you know, he was helping the Air Force, it wasn't Air Force, Air Corps. They were introducing flying to American citizens and so forth. And they were doing all kinds of things, but he was a daredevil pilot and so forth. He was the first person to get into a plane, put a canopy on it, take off and land just by controls, which before that, it was all sight. And, but he continues to go to school and he eventually gets a PhD from MIT. And so he continues then as a test pilot for the Air Corps. And then what happened on December the 7th, 1941? Pearl Harbor. And that really shook this nation to the core. First of all, we viewed it as a sneak attack. And it's the Hawaiian Islands. And there was the fear that we could even be attacked on the coastline. And that's one of the reasons why, unfortunately, that we took a lot of Japanese American citizens, took them and put them in a concentration camp because of the fear of what happened at the Hawaiian Islands. But anyway, President Roosevelt was really upset about it. The people of this country were really discouraged about it. He decides, I've got to do something. We got to do something to increase the morale. So he gets hold of Jimmy Doolittle and says, we need to do something. Is there some way that we can hit back at the Japanese, you know, to do something? So Doolittle says, yeah, I'll take it under advisement, which he did. And I have pictures up here and you can look at them later. He decides, I think I could take a Mitchell B-25. It's a small bomber. I think I could take that bomber and I think I can fly it off an aircraft carrier. If he told anybody what he was thinking, they would have thought it was nuts. Because a Mitchell B-25, and there's still some around, not many, they need about a mile-long runway to take off. The aircraft carrier at 461 feet. Now think about that. 461 feet, you're going to launch a medium-sized bomber off an aircraft carrier? So what Doolittle does, he thinks you can do it. So he goes to different branches of bases where there are flyers, and he wants the better flyers. So, you know, these young guys are 19, maybe 20 years old, and there's a spatial mission. George, are you interested? Would you like to go down? Yeah, I'll go down, you know. And so he had these young pilots come in, and he told them, we're going to work on flying, and it's going to be a spatial mission, and it could be very dangerous. And right now is a good time for anybody to back out if you want to back out. How many of you think backed out? None. So anyway, they start training, and they're down in Florida. There's a airport down there, and they're practicing trying to get off at 461 feet. And they're doing fairly well. But anyway, he tells President Roosevelt, we're ready. So they all fly out to California, and there's an aircraft carrier there called the Hornet. The men still don't know what this is all about. So just before they got on the Hornet and started to leave the aircraft carrier, he tells them what the mission is. And he said, if anybody wants to back out, you know, this is a good time and will not feel ill will towards you or anything, but all the young men, they wanted to go. So anyway, off they go. To make a long story short, I'm watching my, oh boy, time. They have to get about 400 miles from the Japanese coastline. And what happens is they see some picket ships out there. In other words, the Japanese had some picket ships and they could radio if they saw something going on that was, threatening. And they bombed this picket ship. And they thought, what do we do now? We're 620 miles away. We wanted to get to 400. Doolittle says we're going to go. And when he made that decision to go, he knew that the probability was very slim that they were going to be able to land in a designated area into China. So all 16 planes were brought up on the deck. It was very windy. The waves were bouncing. The cruiser or the ship, but it kind of worked to their advantage because when the front of the cruiser or the ship would tip up, that's when they shoot the planes off, and they would have them sit there and rev their engines as high as they could go. And then they're watching the guy out here says, and off they went. They all 16 got off. Again, to make long story short, they flew very low, and they finally come up to the coastline of Tokyo. And of the 16 planes, they had some, bombs, of course, and incendiary bombs and so forth, but they were not trying to hit any residential area. And they broke Tokyo down into 6 major areas. There were 2 or 3 planes on each area. And so there were military or, industrial targets and so forth and so on. They bombed them. To be very honest, they didn't really do a lot of damage. They continue flying on, excuse me, and they begin to run out of gas. And of the 16 planes, 1 did something it wasn't supposed to do, but they veered off and landed in the Soviet Union, which was Russia then. 3 others ran out of gas, went into the Sea of Japan. Those people were captured. Ultimately, of the 8 people that ended up in the camp, 3 were beheaded. 1 died of natural causes, and the others were there when the war was over and were released. The other planes flew until finally they just ran out of gas, or parachuted out into China. A lot of Chinese people weren't expecting that, but when they realized who the Americans were and so forth, they really went to work to get these men in a safe place, which they ultimately did. Later on, the Japanese were so upset with the Chinese for what they had done to help the Americans when we got bombed that they massacred nearly 250,000 people in retribution. Let me end by saying, and I'm watching. So, was the rate of success? It was because, and I'll just read it here. The Japanese were told by their military leaders that they were invulnerable, and all of a sudden they get bombed, and the general citizenry realizes, we've been misled. And so that credibility between the military and the citizens was warped, if you will. So the other thing that had greatly improved the morale of the United States, that we could pull that off. The third thing was a lot of ships, planes to protect Japan were kept there rather than being out in the Pacific, because now they knew they were vulnerable. So anyway, this talk is what I would give to kids in high school and so forth. And it's just a lot of fun. I'm going to end it here just a couple of minutes early. There is a picture of a Mitchell B-25. It's signed by the last 6 remaining members all of the Raiders have passed away. I think it was about 3 years ago. The last Raider was from Cincinnati, passed away. If you go to the Air Force Museum, there's a spatial display there and it has little silver cups. Has anybody seen those? So there's a cup for each crew member of the Doolittle Raiders. And when they pass away, they tip that cup upside down. It's got the person's name on it. There was a bottle of cognac that Doolittle had, and he said, the last living Raider, I want him to open that up and do a toast to all the other Raiders. Well, I got down to about 2 or 3 and they were in their 90s. And so those 2 or 3 decided, let's just open it up now while we're still kicking. Because we don't know, you know, and do a toast. So they did a toast to the men who were no longer living. It's interesting to go see that. Right behind that display is a Mitchell B-25 bomber. Doolittle said to the men, after they started to get all this notoriety and so forth, he said, I don't want anybody to make any money off of what we did. We were just doing our job. If people insist on giving something, we'll start a fund. And that fund will be for your children or your grandchildren if they want to go to school and so forth. But we as individuals are not going to benefit from what we did. I thought that was really an interesting thing. His autobiography came out about 2 years before he died, and I was reading it, and I like to read the fine print. How we do it? Got 4 minutes. The fine print said, I personally am proud of the fact that I answer all of my own correspondence. Whoa, that's okay. I'm out at the kitchen table and I'm writing. My wife said, what are you doing? I said, I'm writing a letter to General Doolittle. She said, was like, are you nuts? Is he still living? I said, yeah, I think he's about 92 years old. Where are you going to send it? I don't know yet. Do you have an address? No. And you think he's going to respond to you? Well, he said here, right here, he takes. So anyway, I got it, typed it up. And by the way, I was the county school superintendent down in the Cincinnati area. And so I called the Air Force Academy and got the right person to talk to, told him who I was, that I speak on Jimmy Doolittle, and I'd like to send a letter to him. So, you know, he's 92 years old and his health is not good. And I said, I know that, but I still would like to thank him. And, you know, so anyway, he said, I'll tell you what. He said, we don't give out his address. The general's, I'll tell you this, our general's grandson is stationed here right now, but we don't talk about it. But if you send a letter, I'll give it to the general's grandson, and then it's up to him. I said, fine. So I sent it. It wasn't 3 weeks later, I get a letter back from General Doolittle. And if I may, I'll come back. Of course, I had to say to my wife, I told you so. Dear Mr. Whitman, thank you for your letter on January the 23rd. By the way, this is 1992. Am pleased that you enjoyed the book. Am certain that you could speak to the students more on motivation than I could by specifically answering their questions. I love this sentence because I asked him, of all the things that you've done, what stands out most in your mind? This is the response. I simply look upon any accomplishments that might be attributed to me as doing my job and being in the company of talented and dedicated people. What a nice way to, you know, he didn't take full credit. Yeah, you know, I went to school. got a PhD, whoop-de-doo and all that, but he said, anything that might have been. I thought that was really cool. He said the enclosed Doolittleisms were little kind of funny quote things from Lowell Thomas's book Might Be of Interest. How many people remember or heard of Lowell Thomas? I see these young people, just having fun. He said, every good wish to you and yours for much happiness and good health in the years to come. Please give the students a hearty thumbs up from me for doing their best and striving to help others. Very truly yours, J.H. Doolittle. So anyway, fascinating character. And these things are up here. If anybody wants to look at them, you may. But thank you for inviting me. And join us.
We had time for questions, but I hope those of you that might have questions, if you want to stick around afterwards, please do so. All right. And with that, I'm going to leave you with a quote. Oh, next week's speaker is Jack Young of the International Disaster Relief Boxes. So I hear this is a very interesting program and one that I think we're going to get a lot of information out of. Quote of the week: every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. Anonymous. Have a good one.